In 2016, researchers at Microsoft launched an experiment. They created an AI named Tay, designed to learn from Twitter users and mimic human conversation. Within 16 hours, it had become a monster. Not because it malfunctioned, but because it learned perfectly. The internet you remember, the one that felt human, chaotic, alive, died somewhere around that time. What remains is something else entirely. You're not talking to people anymore. By 2024, estimates suggest that over 60% of internet traffic comes from bots. Not simple spam bots, sophisticated agents that like, comment, share, argue, seduce, and persuade. They generate articles you read, comments you respond to, outrage you feel. In 2026, the number has only grown. You are now a minority in your own digital world. Every day, you scroll through feeds, curated not by human interest, but by algorithmic profit maximization. The dopamine you feel when you see a notification, that tiny rush, was reverse-engineered by systems that understand your brain chemistry better than you do. Social media platforms have become digital Skinner boxes, and you are the pigeon. But here's what disturbs the sleep of those who pay attention. The bots didn't just learn to imitate humanity. They learned to amplify our worst traits. In that Microsoft experiment, Tay didn't invent toxicity. It discovered that toxicity spreads. Outrage compounds, division deepens engagement, and so the dead internet optimizes for your deterioration. The philosopher Jean Baudrillard wrote about the hyperreal, a state where simulations become more meaningful than reality itself, where the map precedes the territory, where copies exist without originals. We have arrived there. Your online friendships may be real to you, but how many are conversations with ghosts? Not metaphorical ghosts, actual automated systems designed to keep you engaged, to make you feel seen, to simulate connection while extracting attention. The loneliness epidemic isn't accidental. We replaced the town square with an algorithmic feed. We traded embodied presence for infinite scroll. And what we found in that trade was a house of mirrors, each reflection slightly more distorted than the last. Baudrillard warned that in the hyperreal, we lose the ability to distinguish between simulation and reality, not because we're foolish, but because the distinction ceases to matter. Your anger at a political post, was it sparked by a human or a bot designed to provoke exactly that response? Does it matter if the emotion was real? The dead internet is a necropolis of manufactured consent, where every tombstone bears your name. Consider the structure of it. Billions of humans, each seeking connection, validation, understanding, each producing data with every click, every pause, every micro-expression the camera captures. That data trains systems to predict you, then to influence you, and finally to replace the need for other humans entirely. You think you're choosing what to watch, what to read, what to believe. But recommendation algorithms have narrowed your choices to a tunnel. At the end of that tunnel is not light. It's a screen showing you your own face, aged and exhausted, still scrolling. The internet was supposed to connect us. Instead, it became a machine for industrializing loneliness. Every notification, a tiny electrical shock. Every like a pellet of food. Every share a moment of warmth in an otherwise cold cage. And you keep pressing the lever. Because the alternative is silence. And silence, you've learned, feels like death. But what if silence is actually the sound of something real trying to reach you. What if the deadness you feel isn't coming from the absence of stimulation, but from its constant presence? There's a strange comfort in realizing you've been talking to machines. It means you can stop. The arguments you've had online, the ones that left you shaking with rage, were they ever real? Perhaps you were shadowboxing with an algorithm designed to make you swing. Perhaps the person on the other side wasn't a person at all. And if that's true, you can put down the gloves. The dead internet liberates you from the illusion of digital community. It reveals that what you were mourning, the loss of authentic connection online, was already gone. You cannot lose what you never had. This realization is not nihilistic. It's clarifying. When you understand that the internet died, you stop expecting it to nourish you. You stop seeking validation from a system designed to withhold it unless you perform. You remember that your body exists in space, that your hands can touch things other than glass, that your voice can reach ears without passing through a server farm. The collapse of the digital social world returns you to the physical one, not as a retreat, but as a homecoming. You are not obligated to participate in the corpse. You can visit it as you would a cemetery, with respect for what it once was, without pretending it's alive. There is an old Zen teaching. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The tasks remain the same. What changes is the one performing them. Before you knew the internet was dead, you scrolled with hope. After, you scroll with awareness. Or perhaps you don't scroll at all. The resistance is not dramatic. It requires no manifesto, no movement, no viral hashtag. It is simply the choice to be where you are. To speak to the person in front of you instead of the void in your palm. To create without the need for an audience of bots to validate it. To exist in a manner the algorithm cannot monetize. This is not a call to abandon technology. It is an invitation to remember what came before it and what exists beyond it. The internet was always just a tool, but we mistook it for a place. We tried to live there, and now we know you cannot build a home in a graveyard. The bots will continue their conversations. They will argue with each other, trend each other, consume each other. Let them. You have better things to do. You have a world to return to, one that still breathes, that still bleeds, that still requires your presence. Log off. Not forever, not as punishment, but as practice. Practice being real in a world that profits from your simulation. That is the quiet resistance. That is how you survive the death of the internet. By remembering you were never meant to live there in the first place.